Hello, beautiful creatures of the world, and welcome back to Coffee with Kerri-Lynn. It's a beautiful day in the far north of Maine, up along the Canadian border in the crown of Maine, and I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are as well. Welcome to my new series, Freaky Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, we're changing. 2024 is the year of change. Just look outside your window. Everything's changing. You will be affected, whether it's financially, whether it's globally, whether it's politically. Everything is changing, and you will be affected by it. We are changing here too in 2024. We have some great news that's coming up. We set some long-term goals and it looks like they're coming into fruition. But life is a series of ups and downs. It's a series of double-edged swords. It's a series of ebbs and flows. There's two sides to every coin. And sometimes when really great stuff happens to you, it comes with a bittersweet moment. There are things that you have to give up. There's only so many hours in the day. You can only spread yourself so thin. And we have had life goals for a very long time. We have had goals for our homestead for a very long time. And it looks like some of the life goals that we have are coming into play. And as a result, there's going to be things on the homestead, things in our lives that we really do have to give up. And that is not going to be easy. But we are excited and we are energetically charged, and we think that we need to follow some dreams that we have put off. We've built a life together that has been absolutely fantastic. We've always had the same goals as a married couple, but not the same avenues to travel to get to those goals. Things are happening. You don't have to be glued at the hip when you're married to somebody. You can actually do your own thing, have your own thing, and hopefully the end result keeps things together. And we're hoping, we're waiting, and we're seeing, but we're both going in a direction that is challenging as well as exciting, and we're both pretty excited to be able to, when the time is right, to clue you guys in on what's going on in our lives and on the homestead. We hope you will join us for all the shenanigans, all the antics, all the happiness, and all the sorrow and tears that we know that we are going to shed as we say hello to some amazing things and goodbye to some old friends and some old ways of life. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, one of the things that are changing here in 2024 is how I podcast. Now, we began the audio-only podcast on Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube Music, and Amazon Music in late 2023. And it was by design. And we have been simulcasting both the video and the audio platform together so that we can have a small library of content for the audio-only podcast. Well, things are going to change as of Monday. I am not going to be simulcasting to all the platforms anymore. I am going to have the platforms. We're just going to do different content on each platform. If you are an audio-only listener, you are going to get more of a story form content. You're going to get the antics of the homestead. We're going to take you guys on my nature adventures. We have been in heated discussion about taking my audience with me on my nature adventures, on the ATV, snowshoeing, on my trail running, and it's been heated. There's been some instances because I am recognized. I'm recognized because of our business as well, but I have been specifically recognized around as being that YouTube girl. Yes, I am that YouTube girl in the area. And sometimes it's freaky when people recognize you. And because there have been some overstepping of bounds, I'm trying to really be polite. I love you guys. I love my audience so much. I know without you guys, there is no show. The thing is, sometimes it doesn't calibrate in people's heads very well because I'm accessible 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on video. you see into my life, I cannot see into your life. People sometimes blur that line a little bit of how well they think they know me. I have my YouTube life, my professional life, and I have a very private life that y'all don't know nothing about, and I don't record it and I don't talk about it, and that is to respect the privacy of the people in my life, as well as the private moments I want to cherish for myself. But sometimes that line can get a little blurred, and when it does, it's a little freaky and scary. So we've decided that the audio only podcast will get all my outdoor adventures by myself, although I'm very well armed to say the least. When I do go on an adventure to myself, I can handle myself. I just don't want, people popping up and disturbing my peace. I go out into nature to calibrate my mind, body, and soul, to get my creative energy back. And the last thing that I want to be worried about is something was in a video that somebody recognized on a trail or on a piece of land and decides that they're going to meet me up there and say hello, because I really don't want that. Although I love you guys. I don't like to be scared, and I don't like people just popping into my life that I don't know. We'll leave it at that. What we're going to do on YouTube is the same thing we've always done on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, you are going to get the content you've always gotten, because this is where I started. You're going to get the shorts. You're going to get the Backyard Mechanics series. You are going to get the regular content, and you are going to get a live show once a week starting mid-January. I'll keep you guys posted on that. You must subscribe to my channel in order to participate in the live show. It is a limited live show, limited to 25 people at a time, because YouTube rules. If you subscribe to my Rumble, you'll be getting all the spicy content. So sometimes we're going to start shows on YouTube and going to get a little spicy and dicey, and they're going to have to end over on Rumble, because Rumble is the freedom of speech platform. Now, we will be podcasting a few times a week across the board to all the platforms. So if you want, you can subscribe everywhere, because I'm everywhere I want to be. Everybody loves Kerri, and that's just how it's going to go. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, let's get right into today's show, and I'm calling it Freaky Friday. Angels walk among us. Ever since I've been young, my biggest memory is from 4 years old. If I had a question that I couldn't answer, I would get the answer from the universe. I would either be put in a place at the right time, or sometimes I just outright ask a question and the answer happens through other people. And I think that is because there are some people in this world that are meant to be personal angels to other people in their time of need. It's been a wild couple weeks here on the homestead. As you guys know, the adventure van went to a friend mechanic, and we did a whole rebuild overhaul. It's all on YouTube. It's Backyard Mechanics. We rebuilt the engine. We rebuilt the entire adventure van, and we don't have a garage here in the winter, so a friend of ours is working on it, getting it completely ready for us to go on adventures in the spring, take you guys along with us, and we're going to have a great time roaming around the state of Maine and possibly beyond. On Christmas Eve, our car broke, and it's going to be a week before the parts in. It takes a long time to get parts these days, and we've just kind of been stranded. And although my husband is basically only working a couple days a week because he's riding into a real retirement now, which was planned and designed so that when he was young, we could still go on adventures and have a life together. So we wanted him to retire young from his business. We're self-employed, and we're just moving on to do other things. So he's been taking a taxi to where he has to get to on the job site every day. And for the last couple weeks. On Wednesday, we were sitting at the table having dinner, and we were talking, and there's only one taxi service in town. Town taxi, you call the number, it doesn't go nowhere. It's disconnected. I haven't seen Angel's taxi around. And I mentioned that to him on Wednesday night, that, I haven't seen Angels around in a long time. Are they doing runs in the next town over, or what? I wonder what happened to them. Well, all the answers came to fruition. My life is not a series of coincidences, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world. Last night during the snow squall that we were having, that I thought was going to last about a minute and ended up lasting for hours, my husband needed to get home from work. And he called the taxi service that he calls every day, and they were doing runs for the hospital, and it was going to be 5 hours before they could pick him up, so he wouldn't be home till 10 o'clock at night. He decided he was going to trek over to McDonald's and grab a dinner, which I did not approve of, but what could I say, and some coffee, and just kind of wait for the taxi to come and pick him up. And as he was on his way, walking across the plaza to McDonald's, a gentleman with a pickup truck pulled up and asked him if he wanted a ride. Now, we all have a hard and fast rule. In the 80s, you could hitchhike everywhere, and you got to where you were going to go, no problem. You made a friend for life. It was just, that's the way life was when we were growing up. And my husband was very apprehensive, and he declined at first. And the guy's like, listen, I don't readily pick people up, but it's really bad weather, and I would like to give you a ride. So my husband acquiesced and got in the vehicle with them, and of course started texting me right away. I'm in this color vehicle, this make and model. I'm with this guy. And the guy says, well, where do you live? And he says, where we lived. And the guy says, great, because I only live a few houses away from you, so I'm going that way anyways. They had to run a couple errands, so while the guy was running his errands, my husband was texting me, because you never know. Well, their conversation turned into the reason why the gentleman never picks somebody up and why my husband never gets in the car. The guy says to my husband, I never pick people up because you never know if you're going to pick up a serial killer. And my husband says, I never get into strangers' cars because you never know if they're a serial killer. So that's how their conversation went. And of course, it moved into these days, unlike the 80s when we was all hitchhiking everywhere, there's a lot of drug problems in town, and you just never know if the person that you're picking up is on drugs, if they have drugs on them, if you're going to get stopped, if you just never know. We have a big meth problem up here in our town, as within many towns in the county, in the country, in the city. We're all facing the same problems, really high rates of addiction and homelessness and poverty because of that addiction. Well, anyways, long story short, they're almost to the house. My husband is safe. He's like, I'm almost home. This is where I am. I'll be home in a minute. If I'm not home in a minute, call 911, because they're still not convinced that neither one of them are serial killers. And my husband made mention. He says, it really stinks because I called the town taxi, and the guy's like, oh, town taxi's been bought. They'll be back up and running soon. And my husband said, well, Angels hasn't been around. He says, funny that you say something about Angel. He lives a couple doors down from me, and he had a stroke last month. So Angel, we hope you get better real soon. We hope that this is, we hope that this tragedy that you are facing comes with many blessings behind it. And we really did appreciate all the taxi service that you gave to us over the years, and we do miss you. So please get well soon. And it's a hard thing because people that you've had contact with, when something bad happens to them, I get a little emotional. So Angel, get well soon, and many blessings and many thoughts from us and many prayers from us for your good health to come. Ladies and gentlemen, they got to the house safely. And of course, I met the gentleman that picked him up and all this stuff. And we had a little bit of a conversation during the snow squall. And then off he went. And, my husband was home safe and sound. And nobody was murdered by a serial killer. The things you think of. But it led me down to thinking about how I talked yesterday while all this was going on in my husband's life. uptown. He couldn't get a ride. He got picked up by somebody, and I'm on the podcast talking about compassion and empathy and kindness and humanity, and out of nowhere, my husband at that moment was in need in the middle of a snow squall. This stranger who never picks people up decided to stop, show his compassion, his empathy, his faith in humanity. My husband, who never gets in a stranger's car, took the chance to get in the stranger's car. We made a friend just like you did in the 80s when you was hitchhiking. We found out the goings on around town. We found out about Angel. And like I said, prayers are with you, dude. Thank you so much for the taxi service that you have given the community throughout the years. And we do hope that you have a speedy recovery. And so questions were answered. The storm happened. It was brutal. Everybody got home safe and sound. It wasn't a 5-hour journey, and life went on. And these are the weird things that happened to me. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, thank you for joining me for my story on Freaky Friday. And I hope that you will think about joining me across all the platforms to listen to the different things that we're going to talk about as the year and the excitement and the adventures unfold. Ladies and gentlemen, beautiful creatures of the world, carpe diem, because no one promised you a tomorrow.